Assalamualaikum everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, selamat pagi, sawatika, and magandang umaga. Welcome to the first information session for the 2022 Australia-ASEAN Muslim Exchange Program. My name is Brinna and I'm one of the program managers with the AAMEP, and it's a real pleasure to see you all here today. And my colleague
the possibility for the hypothesis to become a theory, or else the
Just going to mute. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. And my name is Rowan. Good to be with you, and lovely to see people from, I think, many different countries today. So welcome.
Okay, so before we begin our session formally for today, we would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we all live, in particularly the land where Rowan and I live and work, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We would like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Secondly, before we begin, we'd like to ask everyone today if you could change your name on Zoom so that it says your name and then the city or the country that you come from, just to make things easier for us and so that we know that where you're all from. So it would be great if you could do that. So welcome again. We're very excited to be holding this session today. As Rowan said, it's great to see people, so much interest in the online Australia-ASEAN Muslim Exchange Program and people from all over the region who have signed up to join us today. So as some background, the Muslim Exchange programs have been running for nearly 20 years. For most of that time, the programs have run between Australia and Indonesia, but we've had the real good fortune to be able to gradually expand those programs over more recent years to include other ASEAN countries as well. So because of COVID, earlier this year, for the first time, our program between Australia and Indonesia was held online. So the program was actually very successful, and we were amazed by the incredible delegates we had the opportunity to meet. So we're looking forward to hearing from two of our alumni from that online program today. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of questions about their experience with the online format. But before we hear from our alumni, we're honoured to have with us today a guest from the Australia-ASEAN Council Board, which is the funding body of the Amep program. So Tamerlane Beasley is one of Australia's leading intercultural consultants, educators and facilitators, and she sits on the AAC board. We're delighted to have her here with us today and to offer us an official welcome on behalf of the board. Thank you and welcome, Tamerlane.
Thanks so much, Brinna. It's an absolute delight and an honour to be here to welcome you all today from across the region and across Australia. So my name is Tamerlane Beasley and I'm a member of the board of the Australia-ASEAN Council. So the Australia-ASEAN Council was founded roughly 5 years ago with the purpose of establishing deeper people-to-people links between the countries of Southeast Asia and Australia. And one of our flagship programs that we fund, and we fund many programs and we also have a grants round, is this program. And I'm so delighted to be here welcoming you to explore the possibility of getting involved in the next round. I had the privilege of seeing the graduation from the last program, but also meeting participants over the years who've been involved in this program. And I can honestly say it is an extraordinary experience. And one of the luxuries of the program is working with Brinna and Rowan, who are extraordinary people who bring their knowledge, wisdom and insight and their networks across Southeast Asia to this program. So I had the good fortune to meet participants in the program when it was face-to-face. And, you know, we spent quite a lot of time thinking about how could this work online. And I'm delighted to say that the online program, I think, is as good, potentially even better, I don't know, but it was phenomenal in terms of the quality of the relationships that people built through the program. And particularly now more than ever, the relationships we have and the collaboration And the friendships across our region are more important than ever. We need to engage. We need to work with one another about all of the sorts of things that are concerning us, our families, and our futures, and the futures of our children. So issues like COVID recovery, or currently COVID in some contexts where COVID is still a real issue. Also climate change, in the lead up to COP26, this is one of the big issues that is pressing for so many, everyone on this planet. So we need to work together. So many of the critical issues that we face are better addressed together. And I think one of the things that this program does is connect people through a shared faith. And in Australia, we don't often talk explicitly about faith, but it's a really important space to have these conversations and build these relationships. So I'd really encourage you to get involved in the program, to apply, but also, even if you're not successful in being selected, to look at opportunities to connect with people across the region and people from within your faith who may be different to you. And one of the interesting things about this program is you'll explore so many different elements of Islam and your faith. Often what we find with these sorts of intercultural programs, and I've worked in this space for more than 20 years now, is that people are quite surprised at the end of these programs that they end up learning as much about themselves as they do about other people. And it's being challenged to reflect on who we are, what's important, and what unites us. And often we find common ground in very unexpected places. So we might find we have more in common in some instances with someone in another country than we might have with someone in our workplace. So we might find very unexpected commonality, but sometimes we are also challenged with unexpected difference. And I'd really encourage you through this program to sit with that difference. Learning means expanding and opening our minds and growing. And the reality about working across cultures and with diversity is that diversity works when there's inclusion. And inclusion means we're willing to sit, we're willing to listen to people who are different to ourselves. So within this program and outside of it, it's such a critical skill. And it's that capacity to listen and ask questions and get involved. So I'd really encourage you to put in an application, think about getting involved in the program and learning from one another and yourself through this journey. So thanks so much, Rowan and Brinna, for the opportunity to talk to everyone today. And I look forward to seeing some of you in the program later on and seeing how your journey progresses. Thank you.
I think Brenna might have frozen. So I'm just going to thank you, Tamerlane, for those kind words. And we did indeed have a really great experience with the online program recently. And we're really looking forward to bringing that to the newest Australian and Asean audiences.
Thank you for that, Rowan. My screen did freeze before, but I'm now back. And so I'm just going to share screen if I can. So the plan for today is that Rowan and I will give you a brief overview of some of the important aspects of the program. Thank you again, Tamerlane. I didn't have a chance before because I did freeze. But yes, so we will give you an overview of some of the key aspects of the program. And after that, we'll begin our conversation with our alumni so that you can find out more about their experiences. And at any point, please do, you are very welcome to share questions or comments that you might have in the chat. So I'm just, apologies. So the first question that I'm going to start off with is that obviously, as Tamerlane mentioned, we have had a physical program for the Amep in the past. And the program this year will be complete high quality online program, and we're very excited about sharing that program with all of you. But we also felt like it was important to just mention that anyone who does participate in the online program will still be eligible to apply for future physical programs. Having participated in the online program won't in any way disadvantage you if you do apply for a physical program. And for many people, it may actually strengthen your application for future physical programs. So we just wanted to make sure that that was clear from the start. But I'll now move on to the key criteria. The first one listed here, which many of you will have already seen, is that the program is open to citizens of Australia, Thailand, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines. So that's for this year. An important note that we wanted to make, especially for our Indonesian members in the audience today, you may realize that Indonesia is not on that list and be wondering why. So because Indonesia is the largest Muslim majority country in the region, we do actually have a special program which exists for Australian and Indonesian participants. So that program has already run this year, but will be open again for applications next year. And for anyone who might be from countries not listed here, other than Indonesia, we're always looking for opportunities to expand and grow our programs. So do keep an eye out for any future programs that may come up. The other points are fairly straightforward that you've probably already seen. Delegates need to be aged between 23 and 40. They need to identify as being Muslim. The entire program will be run in English, so they need to be confident, active English speakers. And then the final point is that we're looking for people who are actively contributing to their communities. So I'm just going to pause on that point for a moment because there's a very broad range of what actively contributing to your community might mean. So to give you some examples, some of our delegates work full-time in their area of community involvement, others might volunteer. You might be involved in community work, you could be an educator, an artist, you might be an imam or a preacher, you could be a content creator. There's a very broad range of what contributing to your community means, but the most important thread through all of those different forms of community involvement is that whether it's paid or voluntary work, what you do affects Muslims and involves the Muslim community or Muslim individuals, and somehow contributes to strengthening or building those communities. But if you're still not sure about whether or not your particular form of community involvement is relevant, you're very welcome to write it in the chat or to get in touch with us after the event today, either through social media or through our website. So the next point, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of the program itself. So as you can see, there's 7 main themes here. So the program runs for 8 weeks, and most of those weeks will be focused on a particular theme. And then within each week, we will have 3 sessions, and each of those sessions will dive deeper into particular aspects of those themes. So for example, government and leadership, we might have a session that's looking at Muslim community leadership. And then we may have another session looking at diverse representation in Islamic political parties. And then we may perhaps have a third session looking at Muslim involvement in government level peace negotiations in the region. So each of those themes will have particular sessions. The sessions will all run for around 2 hours each, 3 days of the week. We've also mentioned there in Thailand, the sessions will start at 3 p.m. In Malaysia, Philippines, and Brunei, they start at 4 p.m. And for most people in Australia, they'll start at 7 p.m. over in the eastern states. We do realize that for some people that may be during your work hours. So that's something that we're very happy to support you with documentation. So if that will be an issue for you, you're very welcome to get in touch with us to discuss that. And you'll notice down the bottom, one of my favorite highlights of the program is actually the delegate presentation week, which is the 8th. It will be one of the weeks in the 8-week program. That is where we invite our delegates, who will all be amazing people involved in their communities from across the region. Each person will have the opportunity to present a little bit about their work in the community. So the presentations themselves are not difficult, but the buzz and the energy of being able to learn from each other, as Tamerlane mentioned early, is really quite exciting and something that we're looking forward to. So finally, by the end of the program, you will have heard from over 50 speakers from throughout the region and had the chance to engage in dialogue and ask your questions directly of them. And you will also have connected with 30 fellow delegates. Also from across the region, we anticipate that there will be around 10 delegates from Australia and 5 each from the participating Asean programs. And there'll be many opportunities to interact and to connect with each other, which really is the heart of the program. So I will finish my presentation there and pass on to Rowan to speak a little bit more about those aspects, a couple more aspects of the program. Thank you, Rowan.
Thanks, Brenna. And yeah, so the heart of the program, I suppose, is before we get to the technological platform. So I want to mention that the heart of the program for us, and something we wanted to make sure we preserve from the face-to-face program and we implemented really well in the online program, is the connections that form between the delegates. And so there's different ways that we facilitate that. And the first is obviously through the Zoom and the live face-to-face sessions themselves, through the 8 weeks of the program. And each session is structured in such a way that you have, for example, breakout rooms, and we give you the structure and the scaffolding to be able to build, and the safe space to foster those friendships and connections. But then outside the live sessions, we use a platform called Slack, which some of you may be familiar with, and this really helps to allow the conversations to keep happening once the Zoom sessions finish. And this is, it enables us to share videos, photos, to chat in small groups, to do polls. And we use this rather than WhatsApp or Line or Telegram because it's a little bit less overwhelming in terms of when you've got different conversations happening. And it allows you to leave it and come back. For example, after you've been working, you can come back at the end of the day and then catch up relatively easily. And we used it fairly successfully in the AMEP program that we just completed. And we, some of you may already, as I said, be familiar with it. Now, I won't share any screenshots of that platform just for privacy reasons, because obviously people are chatting and sharing things, but it's a really important part of the program, and that's where a lot of the interaction will happen. And then the final aspect I want to share, which I'll do now, is the online learning platform, which is called that we use, which is called Thinkific. And as you can see, each week is set out here on the left. And this is from the Indonesian program. There may be some slight changes that we'll make for the, there will be changes that will be there. So this is a sample program only, and you'll see the program schedule is there. You can click into a session and see the details of every session, the times in your time zone, and the Zoom links. For example, if I click into this session, you can see some of the resources. Some of the speakers will have provided information and videos that you can use to supplement the live sessions. And there'll be additional material depending on what is the subject of each session. So this is really useful. We don't want it to be overwhelming. It's not meant to be like homework, but it really helps to fill out the experience and provide a more rounded kind of picture of what people are learning about and discussing in the live sessions. So The final point to remind you is also our website, and that's where you will you'll need to go if you're interested in applying, and that's www.aamep.com.au, and that includes the if there are questions that you have. There's a frequently asked questions section, which we now have in English, Malay, and Filipino, and we're just finalizing the Thai section, but that should hopefully be available very soon as well. So handing back to Brinna for the next section.
So this is probably the section that you've all been most looking forward to, which is our conversation for today. So we're excited to have with us 3 of our alumni from our most recent Amep and also Amep programs. We have Murniwan Mohammed Noor from Malaysia, who is an academic based at University Putra Malaysia, where she focuses on human rights issues, and she participated in the Amep in 2019. So welcome, Murni. Great. And then we also have Ahmad Nasrullah, or Bang Nas, who is an alumni from the most recent AMEP online program in 2021. He's a leader in the Muhammadiyah youth movement in Indonesia and also works at the International Red Cross, focusing on international humanitarian law. So welcome, Bang Nas. And also, last but not least, from Australia, also one of the alumni from our most recent online program is Aisha Almir. Aisha is a halal certification auditor and also volunteers at the Islamic Sciences Research Academy, where she's a project manager at the Youth College and interfaith dialogue speaker. So welcome, Aisha.
Thank you. Nice. I'm really excited to be here.
Lovely to have you all. Thank you so much, guys. So what we're planning on doing now is that Rowan and I will just start off asking our alumni a few questions, but if you have any questions, please do share them in the chat. Rowan's going to keep track of them for now, and then we'll just mix between our questions and your questions as well. So we might start with you, Murni, if we can. If you could maybe tell us all a little bit about why you applied for the Amep program and some of the major learnings or experiences that you took away from that.
Thank you so much, Brinna, for the warm welcome and the kind introduction, and for the question as well. Actually, I've never heard of AAMEP before I had applied in 2019, and a friend of mine had encouraged me to apply. And I'm really glad, Brinna, that you mentioned about the different ways people could contribute towards their community, because at that time, I didn't think that I qualified. And so I just tried my luck. So as an academic, my work really focuses on intergroup relations. So that was what drew me to the program, because I really wanted the opportunity. Sorry, I'm a little, I can hear a little background noise, so I was a little distracted. I'm sorry. So the reason why I applied for AAMEP was because part of my work is to study intergroup relations, and that was why I was so intrigued by this program. I've actually been to Australia before for a short 6 months research stint, and in that short period, it made me want to learn more about the Australian community, and the way that the Muslim community lived and contributed in Australia. And so the program drew me because of that. I wanted to better understand the culture of the Australian people and the way in which Australian Muslim community lived. And I was really interested to increase the cooperation between Malaysia and Australia, and Malaysia and other ASEAN countries, particularly with the Muslim community. And I felt like the program could help in this regard. And this is something that Tamerlane had actually mentioned. While we're focused on our similarities, but it is also important to, appreciate our differences, and that's when we're able to embrace diversity. That's one of the things that really drew me to this program, because although it's centered on Muslim communities, but the Muslim community is vast and wide, and we are also very much diverse. So I really liked the fact that we would be introduced to different aspects of Muslim community, not only from Australia, but also exposed to the different Muslim communities in ASEAN regions. I really think this would help to strengthen our friendship based on our shared values, but also increase our understanding based on the appreciation of differences and diversity. And so really that's one of the reasons why I applied. And I'm so grateful to my friend who, convinced me that I qualified, because I wasn't sure at that time.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Murni. And
No problem.
yeah, I definitely would like to come back and ask you if those expectations were fulfilled. But maybe we'll move on to our other two alumni just first to also get a bit of a sense of perhaps Nas, you participated in the online program, and I think a lot of people will be interested to hear why you decided to apply for the program, and if you were a bit, perhaps if you had any hesitations at all about doing the program online, and what that experience was like for you. Thank you, Bang Nas.
Thank you, Mbak Brina, for the opportunity. Well, before I say it's an online program, to be honest, for example, I already heard about this program, Amep, which is so prestigious because I observed a lot of some Muslim leaders Indonesia graduated from this program. So before it becomes online, to be honest, I already applied to this program twice, and I failed. So at the last so just to show you how competitive this program is. So at the latest this year, I applied again, and alhamdulillah, I was successful to pursue and accepted in this program. So I think I found it it's quite limited in terms of real interaction, actual interaction, like sideline chit chat after program compared to the actual one, for example. But it's already like more an eye opening, and to some extent, it makes like already emotional bonding among us, among participants. We never meet them at all before. Some of them, 2 or 3 already my network before, like my colleagues already I knew before and joined the program, and I met them in the program, but most of them I never meet before. But we already like family, and we, for example, already conduct and organize even together, although we never meet before. So it's quite insightful for me and very useful in terms of you can do like a strategic anchoring for your own network, and it would be very useful for your next endeavor. So from my side, that's Mbak Brina. That's all, I think, maybe just short one.
Great, thank you very much for that, Bang Nas. And now finally, Aisha, it would be great to invite you to let us know a bit about what motivated you to apply for the AMEP program, and also, yeah, what your experience and feelings were both before and during the program with the online format.
Thank you so much, Brina. I can say I'm skilled in advertising this program, as I've been practicing it on everyone around me already. I'm doing exactly what my friend did to me. Well, to be honest, that's how it started. I haven't heard about this program before until one of the 2019 alumni, I believe, she's my friend, and she started telling me about it. And she started encouraging me, and I was like, no, it's online. I'm not an online person. And I just kept, refusing. And then she practically forced me. She kept harassing me every single day. She's like, you're going to do it now. Apply now. I was like, okay. And then I thought I applied, subhanAllah. And then after I applied, I remembered that it's very convenient that it's online. Why am I refusing? I mean, being away for 2 weeks might not be convenient. I might not be able to apply at during that time. So why don't I take advantage of it? And alhamdulillah, it worked perfectly well. It was at night for me after work, and I felt like I made the most out of it. And what I loved the most, I loved the fact that I was interested and so keen and curious to know about Indonesia, but then I ended up learning so much about Australia. And that for me was, I mean, like, I was shocked about so many things about Australia, and I learned so much about the history and about the research that's going on. I got to meet so many amazing and influential speakers. I got to learn so much from them and was able to ask them, burning questions. But most importantly for me, what I love is friendship. And I was able to build a really strong connection, even though I was doubting that was possible to happen online, but it was very, very strong. And we were able to continue that friendship because we didn't build them in a country and just leave them and go. We were able to continue online as it was already built online initially. So that for me was very valuable, and it meant a lot.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that, Aisha. And we're very glad that your friend did convince you to eventually apply for the program.
I'm glad too.
It was great to have you. So Murni, it would be great to come back to your ideas of what you wanted to get out of the program. And if you could tell us maybe some of the main things that you did get out of the program, if they met your expectations, maybe even some aspects of the program that surprised you.
Right. Thank you so much. Honestly, after hearing Aisha and Abangna's, sharing, I feel a little jealous that I didn't get to be part of the online program, because my program was for 2 weeks, but they were 2 amazing weeks. And so I honestly didn't know what to expect at first, because I have never known anyone who had gone for the AAMEP program before. But from the get-go, the impression that I had was really great, because when I went for the interview at the Australian Embassy in Malaysia, all the panelists, all the interviewers were so kind and attentive, and they seemed to be genuinely interested to learn about me and the work that I do. And so from that time, I felt that sincerity and this sense of genuine, this sense of wanting to understand about each other, that was the heart of the program. And I felt like even if I didn't make it, I learned a lot already from that initial experience. So alhamdulillah, I got chosen. Thank you for choosing me in 2019. It was a life-changing experience. And it exceeded my expectations, honestly, because I think that the engagements that I had with people, although it was in a brief span of time, over 10 days, it was one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, because I was able to really see beyond the theory of what Australia was, of what the Muslim community in Australia was, of how my Muslim counterparts in ASEAN countries live their lives, and the amazing work that they do. It's different than just reading about it online or reading the research. And so that was something that I really valued and cherished. And so I think at the heart of the program, and this is so evident when we see and meet different people throughout the program, was the sense of sincerity. It was seeing the amazing work that they do. It was learning firsthand about how Muslim minorities are not necessarily, sometimes if we think as a minority, we might be discriminated against and things like that, but it doesn't stop Muslims around the world, in Australia and other ASEAN countries, from contributing positively to the community. And that was really inspiring. So for me, that was one of the most amazing takeaways that I've gotten, especially the friendship that I've managed to establish after the program had ended.
Yep. Great. Thank you so much for that, Murni. And I might just mention for people who aren't familiar with the history, Murni was part of a group with fellow delegates from the Philippines and also from Thailand. So similar to this year, except there'll also be participants from Brunei as well this year, and Australians for the first time. So on the online program, people from across the region and Australia are able to do the program together. So I'd be really curious to ask perhaps either Nas or Aisha, but that sense of connection and learning about people's experience in the countries that you're learning about, how did you find that in the online space? Do you feel like you were also able to gain that insight and understanding of each other in the online space? Yeah, Aisha,
I'm happy to go first. Definitely. For me, I'll talk about myself, of course. I learned so much, and I was surprised about so many things as well. And one of the main things I was surprised about was, even though I live in a developing country and women's rights is a big thing, I realized that Muslim women's rights in Indonesia, or the study about women's rights, is far advanced than the study about women's rights, or in particular Muslim women's rights in Australia. They are way ahead. Women are already on Sharia boards and in governments, and we were able to speak to those scholars and to those professors and doctors, and that for me was amazing. And also I learned, I loved the different challenges that even though it's a Muslim country, but they still face challenges. And that for me it just gave me a lot of courage. Never, everyone faces challenges, and even, you can't be a Suki baby because you're in Australia. You got to keep going, and you got to always, give back to the community. It's our responsibility. And I just saw how each and every one of us was practically a Khalifa on the ground. Each and every one of us had a duty. They were giving back voluntarily and, as their job. And it inspired me so much. I learned from them. I learned about different projects that they do and hold for the community.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Aisha. Perhaps one theme that I feel like came through with both Morni and Aisha is that sense of connection, learning from the speakers, but also with delegates. And one thing that we're, alhamdulillah, able to do with the online format is that we have quite a large number of delegates who all participate in the program together as a large group and also smaller groups within that. Bang Nas, it would be great if you could maybe talk to us a little. You felt the connections that you created between people that the delegates that you participated with, the connections that you have with them, and the collaborations you've been able to have since the program has finished.
Thank you, Mbak Brina. Yeah, precisely as just to confirm what Aisha said, that a part of that we learn from guest speakers. We also learn a lot from our fellow delegates. So in this online program, we had this a cohort session, breakout rooms that unite us from Indonesia and Australia, from different backgrounds. And it rotated from time to time, so it was not the same group. So the organizer did very well to put us with different people every time. So this opportunity gave us a lot of exchanges, and we got to know from one to other their background, their capacity. So so we knew the profile more from this kind of breakout rooms, from this kind of exchanges. So, we have, for example, we have a colleague that from Hazara background, for example, she advocate from her people. So from this opportunity, from this session, then we would like to invite her to speak for her people to an event that we conducted together in Indonesia. So we organize some of us conduct an event on to like an easy talk show on Afghanistan, women in Afghanistan, what Afghanistan sees a woman now, previously, and the future. So, for example, we invite this Shamsia, one of our delegate in the previous online session. That's so this complete us one another. So I think this the one that I can tell you, Brina.
Great, thank you for that, Nas. And yeah, it has just personally for me as a program organizer, I know the Indonesian program feels like it was a long time ago now, but it actually only finished about 6 weeks ago. And yeah, the project that you mentioned, the session that you mentioned, Nas, about women in Afghanistan, and I know there's been a few other collaborations that have already come about. And I know that Aisha and Morni, it would be great to get both of you to talk a bit. I'm perhaps if we start with Morni, but the collaborations that you've been able to do because of that, I mean, for you as well, Morni, the connection that you've been able to keep in that online space.
Thank you so much. You know, I was really sad when the program ended, even though it was the longest time I've been away from my family, because I felt like I just wanted to continue the relationship that I was establishing with my fellow delegates, but also with the people and amazing organizations that I was introduced to while I was in Australia. But I actually realized I didn't really have much of a reason to be sad, because much of that relationship continued online after the program had ended. Because after 2018, we all know what happened, 2020, with COVID and everything like that. So the relationship continued online, because, like I mentioned, the people that we met were so sincere. And when we met them and they gave their contact details, they weren't just being polite, but they really seemed to mean it when they said that they wanted to help us in whatever work that we're doing. So I shamelessly emailed everybody that I met during the program, because I wanted to keep up with these connections. And alhamdulillah, since then, I have continued some of the at least about half of the connections that I've established throughout the program. And this is not even to mention the delegates. Of course, the relationship that I've established with them, alhamdulillah, is long lasting until now. And so with Sister Norain from Philippines, after the program had ended, she had to come to Malaysia for work purposes. And so we visited each other. She came to my home, and she and her father are part of this big radio community, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's iMedia Network from the Philippines. And so she invited me and another delegate, Sister Alia from Thailand, to appear on their show. And the show was watched internationally, received a lot of views. It was about women behind the scarf and how we were able to navigate past the misconceptions and challenges of Muslim women in this ASEAN region. So that was one thing. And it's not just a professional network, but it's also a personal network as well, because I feel like they are my family. And I'm sure Aisha and Brother Nasrullah can feel the same way. But even then, when I attended the AAMEP in 2019, we met so many influential people in the Australian community. And so it's understandable if they didn't have time to establish a connection with us afterwards, but many of them did, which is why I feel like they were so sincere. So for example, I've bothered you, Brenna, and Rowan a few times, I think, with regards to my research with UNDP, because although I was introduced already to the national and grassroots initiatives to increase multiculturalism in Australia. So part of my research with UNDP was to establish that kind of multiculturalism or heighten it in Malaysia. And so we've had those meetings. Also with Peter Gold, the CEO of Gold Studios. He lots of people know him internationally, but he was so kind, and he even contacted me when he was in Singapore, and unfortunately we didn't get to meet. But since then we have communicated through social media networks, and he's even helped to connect me with another formidable person from Google. And she has agreed to become a speaker for an APEC program that I'm organizing next week. So we've never met, but through Peter, who's kind enough to give us an introduction, I've been able to expand my professional and personal network. And also with Dr. Imran Lam, I'm sure many of you are familiar with him. He's also one of the board members of the Australian Asean Council, if I'm not mistaken. We met in Sydney. And, you know, there's so many influential people that we meet and had the opportunity to get to know, but I realized that, you know, they are so kind beyond the professional capacity. And so we were able to remain friends on social media, and I'm able to be more aware of the work that he does, for example, the recent book that he published. And I also shamelessly share the publications I've done with him. But beyond the professional network, it's so interesting and important to establish the personal network as well, because that's how you really learn about people's lives, you know, how they contribute to their communities, how they're actually not much different from us, even though they're Muslims, they're diverse and they're different, but actually we all share the same thread. So there are a lot of personal and professional relationships that I've managed to nurture after the program, and this was mostly done, or all of it was done online. So I really think that the program is valuable, and if you have the opportunity to apply, really, you should, by all means, go ahead and apply.
Thank you so much for that, Murni. That's a great message to be sending out. But we really appreciate that. And you mentioning Peter Gould is actually a really good opportunity for us to mention briefly that Peter Gould's team in Sydney. A special thanks to Tawkir and Najwa, who are both here with us this weekend to help support this event. It's actually Peter Gould's team who has worked with us to help create our online program, and so Peter is someone that both Aisha and Nas also know very well, and who gets to know our delegates through the online program. Of time, but if you wanted to just mention briefly some of your, I know you have quite a few ideas and thoughts in the pipework for possible collaborations, and maybe your hopes for when borders do open again.
Sorry, you cut out. Was that for me?
Yes, yeah, I think that's for you, Aisha.
Okay,
So go ahead.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, Brenna's cutting out. Okay, no problem. I just want to say that I second everything Rodney said. I connected so much, subhanAllah. I was just reflecting at how similar, or probably the same it is to do the online and the in-person one. We just recently finished. We didn't end the program not long ago. And yes, I was very sad, Murni, as well. We were very sad. We were almost in tears, or we were in tears. But then at the same time, we were happy because we built these connections, and we do have some projects planned out, inshallah. But we just, I mean, in Sydney, we're just all over the place at the moment. We're just going out of lockdown. We're getting social anxiety. Well, I'm talking for myself, and we're just setting out some work, and also towards the end of the year, but we are still in contact. In fact, I just got an invitation yesterday from one of the fellow delegates to attend a conference. So they're ongoing. We also have a WhatsApp group that we communicate regularly, and we also have our personal contacts who we you grow closer sometimes with that particular person. But we definitely have projects in the future, and particularly projects that can be held online, so can be viewed internationally. And we do are hoping to have some in-person projects for us to be in Indonesia, or if the Indonesian would like to come to Australia as well, they're more than welcome. But anything in particular at the moment, no. We do have some planned out or planning, but nothing that we can talk about at the moment. It's a bit too early.
Yep, fair enough. I know there's at least a couple who I think have already started planning out their
Oh, yeah.
travel itineraries for when things do open up again. But yeah, it's great to. One thing that we had hoped and we feel like has successfully happened through the online experience so far is that those personal connections are something that, like you said, the way that the connections that Morni has gained are very similar to the ones that you have been able to gain, which is definitely what we hoped for. So I'm just going to hand over to Rowan now to ask you all one final question and to finish up for today. But it has been wonderful to have everyone with us. And please, if you do have any further questions, you are always welcome to get in touch. Thanks, Rowan.
Okay, thanks, Brenna. And if there is 5 minutes to go, and I did notice that we did have a question pop up from Fakhrul Razi in Malaysia, and I don't know if Murni, did you want to very, very briefly answer that, if you're able to, just very, very quickly?
Okay, thank you, Rowan. I was about to type it out, but it takes longer to type.
Yes.
So it's a really great question, and the program impacts, for me, the Malaysian people and the country in different ways. So for example, number one, there might be certain misconceptions that people have or assumptions, whether positive or negative, that people have about Malaysia and the Malaysian people. And so this program is really able to highlight what is actually happening in Malaysia from the grassroots level all the way to the top. And this is something that you might not necessarily see in the media, because the media only necessarily highlights what's in the mainstream. And so, you know, that is one of the biggest ways for me, I think. Even when Brenna and Rowan are designing the upcoming program, we have been in communication, and here I'm able to share the different organizations and perspectives of in Malaysia, and hopefully that would also help to you know, give a diverse perspective of what we as the Malaysian people are doing here. And another way that it benefits the Malaysian society, I feel, is through these different collaborations. You know, we can't just sit in our own bubble. It is really good for us to, you know, be exposed to the differences among the Muslim community in different countries. Sometimes we think we're similar, like me and the Thai delegates, but there's also certain differences in each country, and how we're able to navigate that, how we're able to, we might not necessarily agree on every single thing, but how do we navigate these differences and still respect each other and build something meaningful from that through different collaborations? I think that is one of the ways that the program benefits at the larger scale and at the community level as well.
Yep, thank you. And I did notice that I think Nuraini had a question, had a hand up, but I think it's gone down again. So if you do have that question, you can feel free to share it in the chat if you like, Nuraini. And then, yeah, so would you like to share your question, Nuraini, either in the chat or, you know, I think we're happy to for you to ask on screen or on audio. Yeah, I think Nuraini is there with her hand up, but I'm not sure if she can share her.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Nuraini from Thailand. I have question regard to the application. Can I ask about in regard to reference?
I think the question is regarding references, if
Yes.
that's right.
Yes, and about reference, do I have to have like a letter of recommendation from my reference, or should I just add the email or what? Because I'm not clear about this part.
That's a really excellent question, and it's probably one that others might have as well. So we're happy to answer, we'll try and clarify. So the application does request that you have references or recommendations from people who can vouch for you, like, you know, who can be, you know, it's a normal sort of application requirement, I think, in many kind of many sort of processes like this. So we've made it optional to actually attach a recommendation letter that you've already gotten from your reference, because you know, people might not be able to get it before the deadline. But what we do ask is that if you only attach contact details, so you don't actually attach a reference letter that's already been written, what the selection team will then do is then they will contact your reference, and they will probably ask for a written reference if possible, either by email or because it's easier that way rather than but you know, if it's not possible, then the selection panel may call them. But because the selection panel will consist of people in different countries, then it's easier if it's written. So in answer to your question, it's preferable if you can get a letter, a recommendation letter, or some kind of text. But if not, you can just put their contact details, and then we or the panelists will contact. And I think Murni has been very kind to assist us with her email address, and she has to go soon. So any final message, Murni, for people here today?
Thank you so much, Rowan, for your understanding. My son's birthday is today, and he's going to attack the cake, so I have to go soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone of this particular verse that I particularly like from the Quran. Of course, there's so many, but the one that's most that comes to mind when we talk about this program is based on Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of male and female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. And that to me comes to mind when I think about the AAMEP program. I really hope that just because it's online, it wouldn't deter you from applying, because like I mentioned, even in my situation, I had the physical program. Most of the connections continued afterwards. And it is just as meaningful, I think. And so if you're having any hesitations, I really do wish that you would consider going for it anyway. You never know if you don't try. Just like me, I didn't think I qualified, but alhamdulillah, the panel thought that I did. And it was one of the best experiences that I've had, even though it was just for 10 days. The connections, I think, is going to last a lifetime, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Murni, and thank you so much for joining us on your son's birthday. It's really kind of you, and happy birthday. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Now, so if you have to go, please feel free. And what we might do is, we do have another question from Atika, and I also want to ask Aisha and Nas for your last thoughts as well. So what we might do is maybe get Aisha and Nas, would you like to have just any final message you want to share for the participants, and then we'll take the question from Atika and anyone else who wants to ask their question, inshallah.
Sure.
So Aisha, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just wanted to second again everything Murni said. It's so true. I really highly recommend you apply online. It goes for 8 weeks. So for me, I loved that concept more. For 8 weeks, we were able to build really strong relationships. We were almost like sisters. We knew each other's coffee preferences, sisters and brothers, and at the end of the day, don't forget, you always have the opportunity to apply for the in-person one anyway. But I'm very grateful that I was pushed to do this. There's not even a bit of regret. From the get-go, I was able to learn so much, gain amazing friends, and most importantly, continue that friendship and learn about the differences and appreciate those differences.
Thank you. And we're so happy that you decided to apply as well.
Thank you.
So Bang Nas, do you have to go? Because I just conscious that Atika has got a hand up. So I just could we take the question from Atika first, and then we'll get a final thought from you, Bang Nas?
No problem at all.
Okay, Atika, would you like to ask your question, please? I think maybe we can you unmute?
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Atika from Thailand. That actually I have a question about. I have a group in my hometown, and then actually I didn't work about the religions, but I work with youth about art, and then about their hometown. It is a gap for me to apply in this program, because actually I see almost about the religions.
Yes, sorry, I didn't pick up you're involved in arts, was that right?
Yeah, actually I work with the child and youth in my community about art, and then about their hometown, like that, not about religion. So my question is, can I apply this program?
Yes, thank you. That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it, because it's actually something we wanted to come back to just to touch on again. And that is that it's a Muslim exchange program, and you do need to be contributing to your community, but it's not necessary that you are a religious teacher or an imam or a preacher or even working for Islamic Council. So just for example, you know, some of the other participants last round from Thailand, there was one of the young delegates was working for an NGO which looks at gender and helps women, and they're involved. I think she's also involved in helping a women's cooperative doing crafts and that sort of thing. There was also another delegate who's a school leader, and he's an imam, but it doesn't mean that you have to be. We had people from the Indonesian program who are involved as teachers, but not necessarily in an Islamic school. They may be contributing in a particular way to their community, and it brings, you know, they're bringing something to their community, and they're contributing to it, and they're contributing to the Muslim community is what I'm the point that I'm trying to make. So it needs to be a little bit more perhaps than maybe if you have an ordinary office job. There needs to be some connection with the Muslim community. But what we would say is, if you think you're maybe not eligible, just send us an email at info@aamep.com.au, and we can try and answer for you. We try to interpret it broadly. So I was going to actually mention before we get back to Bang Nas. So the Indonesian program, Bang Nas mentioned very kindly that it's very competitive for the Indonesian program. And I think that's because it's been going for 20 years and it has quite a reputation in Indonesia. And also Indonesia has a very big population, and which is great. But it does mean that it's a bit more competitive. Now, hopefully in other countries in the region, inshallah, you know, this is only the second year that we've done the program. The first was the face-to-face, and now this is going to be the online version. So I think it's worth, as Tamerlane said, give it a go. You know, just see if you are interested and try and apply. And if you're not sure, send us an email and we can try and assist you with the criteria. Now, maybe Bang Nas, would you like to have any final message that you want to share for our guests?
Thank you, Bang Rowan. Yeah, of course. I will declare myself. I'm proud of this program, alumnus. You know, it's a very competitive, because it's like the dreams come true. You know, so be it offline or online, the program keep its quality and richness in terms of substance. So I think it's worth trying to apply, and you can all enjoy the process, even if you couldn't proceed to the next session, to the next step. Yeah, to me, I had already like a part to be engaged with Bang Rowan and Mbak Brina, for example, from this interview process, for example, I learned a lot from example. We had Professor Greg Philly in the interview process. So he's a big fish, he's an Indonesian politics expert. So I learned a lot from this program, and once accepted, I hope you all will find a very insightful and useful session from your next endeavor. That's from my side, Bang Rowan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bang Nas. And yes, I'm just, so if you're at all, we really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today, and also in particular to our guest from the AAC board, Tamerlane Beasley, and also to our 3 guest alumni, Bang Nas, Aisha, and Murni, for joining us on the weekend, for many of you. And I just want to reiterate for the question from Atika and from Naraini, if you're not sure, please get in touch with us and just, we can try and help clarify. Brinna, I think right at the start, she gave examples of people who are contributing to their community. I just want to go back to that. It might be community work, you might be an educator, you might be an artist, you might be an academic, you might be an NGO, youth development, zakat, a content creator. Interfaith work is also very important. Even someone, so youth development, zakat, and also people involved in religious schools or imams, or like in Indonesia, you have very big organizations like Muhammadiyah and NU and so on. So the common thread is your work involves Muslims, and it's contributing to build and strengthen your community in some way. So I think that's all from me, and thank you so much for all your questions and for tuning in. And Brinna, did you have anything final you wanted to add?
No, I also just want to thank everyone for coming here today. It really is, it's often difficult for us as the organizers to really explain what our program is. So we're so grateful for our alumni for coming here today. And I really hope that you found the stories from them useful and inspiring and helpful in helping you get a better sense of your community, of the program. And as Rowan said, and with the questions about who is suitable for the program, I think one of the most important things is just that you are sincerely trying to build and contribute and make your local community better in some way, in many, many different ways, and that within that community there are at least some Muslims. It doesn't have to be exclusively only for Muslims, as Rowan said. But yes, we're very happy for people to contact us through our social media, through the website, or through the email that we mentioned in the chat. But applications close. I think we've got 3 more weeks now. So we're excited to start receiving applications, and we look forward to hearing from many of you.
So thank you again, everyone, and we'll close the meeting now, but we look forward to hearing from many of you soon, inshallah. So take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.